Colorado wasted months of time and tens of millions of dollars on COVID tests that didn't get the job done. A call to investigate gets delayed. The airport's persistent parking issue. Whole lots are closed because the airport can't find employees. 10 drivers have hit and killed people in Denver this year, then run away. We're looking at how often those hit and run drivers actually get caught and prosecuted.
We're ringing for those who can't ring.
The loud calls for racial justice that echoed through Denver's streets last year are still kept alive each week. And passengers on the A-Line train get quite the show as the Coors Field fireworks blast off right next to the train as it rolls through downtown. All that is next. In the scramble for COVID tests, Colorado turned to a brand new company. 2 months and $90 million later, the state says those tests were unreliable. State legislature now wants an investigation and an answer as to whether the state should have known better. Here's politics guy Marshall Zellinger.
Curative, which provides walk-up PCR and antigen tests in Aurora and Arvada, had a lucrative contract with the state of Colorado that ended abruptly this year. The state paid Curative $90 million for COVID tests, primarily for long-term care facilities. After using the tests in November, December, and January, the state stopped using Curative when the FDA alerted about false results, particularly false negative results.
I think that we need to investigate and find out why this no-bid contract went to this company. So it's not necessarily anything to do with politics or the governor's office or the Democrat majority in the legislature. It's really CDPHE, who I think may have entered into a contract under very suspicious circumstances.
Republican State Senator Rob Woodward wants the contract and decisions around it audited by state lawmakers to make sure the expensive contract was not agreed to because of political favors.
To me, we've seen enough indications that there is something there. You know, whether it's enough to say that there was wrongdoing, I don't know.
The state looked for additional providers, like Curative, to get test results faster.
A decision needed to be made. It was taking anywhere from 7 to 11 days to get results back through the channels that we were using, which were likely much better tests, but if they don't come back for a week, they're not very helpful.
Dr. Gregory Gom is the chief medical officer for Vivage Senior Living, which has more than 30 facilities in Colorado. Before the guidance from the FDA, Gom emailed his concerns about questionable Curative test results.
They found too many false negatives. We found too many false positives.
In March, the state provided this slide showing the use of Curative's tests inside nursing homes did not lead to a spike in deaths.
How was the decision made? And if you had to make another decision like that down the road, what would you do different? I think it's a good idea.
Senator Woodward started to ask the audit committee today to vote to audit the contract, and then he withdrew that to give the committee more time to look at why he wants to do this. That committee will decide next month. But since this is politics, Kyle, even if the committee agrees, it will take probably a year from when the committee decides how large of a scope the audit will be in the first place.
So it's not like this is going to be turned around into immediate findings for the COVID tests that we're procuring now. Marcia, I mean, obviously it's a political thing. We just kind of assume that if a Democrat at the Capitol wants this to happen, it's going to happen. Is there any chance that fellow Democrats or some Republicans block this investigation?
Probably not Republicans. The committee is equal. I think it's 4-4, Republicans and Democrats. So it just takes one Democrat. I think they just need a majority to say yes to the audit. But I guess we would be talking back here again. Why wouldn't you want to audit something when $90 million was spent and the results were not what you thought they were?
Yep. All right. Marshall Zellinger and I out here looking like the wall at an optician shop. Thank you, Marshall. Hey, this is the most excitement the A-Line train's seen since it first opened, and you know it was a crapshoot on whether or not it would get you to the airport. Fireworks at Coors Field launched yards from the train as it was passing by the parking lot on Wawada outside the stadium. I imagine if you were on board this train and then just right next to you, it was either spectacular or terrifying or both. RTD told us, nothing to see here. They said they coordinate with the Rockies to ensure safe operations during fireworks games. Said there were no safety concerns that night, no interruption to rail service. No, it just plowed on through. And the Rockies told us for our part, they rely on their fireworks partner to work with the fire marshal to make sure everything's on the up and up. Whatever it is that causes the crash, there is then a decision to take off and to leave somebody behind to die. Early this morning, the city of Denver saw its 10th fatal hit-and-run crash this year. A man in a wheelchair crossing the street, hit and left on Broadway in the Baker neighborhood. the number of hit-and-run crashes is rising. Steve Steger takes a closer look at how often these cases are solved.
For me, it's been an emotional roller coaster, have good days, bad days, up and down. I miss him so very much.
Carolyn Jackson Wasserman shouldn't have to do this interview. Her son, Christopher Patton, should still be here.
He would give the shirt off his back. He was that type of person.
More than a year after Christopher was hit and killed while riding a scooter near 14th and Arapahoe, police don't seem much closer to finding his killer.
There's very little information that could be given to us.
Investigators released these photos of people of interest in the case, but they haven't said anything publicly since. Still couldn't today.
Because the case is still an active investigation, I really won't talk much more about it.
What Sergeant Michael Farr could talk about is a problem Denver is all too familiar with. Hit-and-run crashes like that are getting worse.
We're talking about 10 of our 59 or 58 fatals this year are hit and runs. I would consider that a big problem. That should be zero.
More than 1 in 6 people killed on Denver's roads this year were killed by a driver who didn't stop. Like a man in a wheelchair this morning, hit in the intersection of Broadway and 3rd. As of Saturday, Denver police logged 28 hit-and-run crashes since the beginning of the year, up 24% from the 3-year average. Farr says that these cases are tough to solve.
I know when I've been asked this question in the past, we have hovered somewhere around 60% of our cases come to some kind of resolution.
And he says it all boils down to one important key.
Quite frankly, for a hit-and-run crash, the best evidence to move that case forward we can get is a license plate number that's attached to that vehicle.
They don't have a plate for the driver who hit the man early this morning, nor do they seem to have the leads that would bring Christopher Patton's killer to justice.
Someone, somewhere will,
Speak up and say something, at least give our families some sense of peace.
Police say they are looking for a white Dodge Ram 1500 pickup. It was 2013 to 2015 with front end damage. It'll be missing a headlight. That's the truck that the driver who killed the man in the wheelchair this morning was driving. As for why people take off like this, Farr says that he's really heard just about every excuse. I was scared. I didn't have enough insurance. I thought maybe there was a warrant out for my arrest. And he says I
was wasted?
Yeah.
I mean,
potentially. So, this was a case where this man was hit on Broadway, 2:30 in the morning, half an hour after the bars close. So there's a whole long list of issues out there.
I don't know. I wonder how many of these come back to drug and alcohol, and that's the reason that people are fleeing, because they're trying to make this choice that they think that they're better off. Whenever one of these crashes happens, we're talking so much about where it happened, how it happened, getting that information out publicly, because police are so fixated on finding anybody who might have seen a snippet of it.
Because you got to remember, this is a stranger on stranger incident. There's not a whole lot of information that goes into a situation like this. So they really, more than a lot of other cases, rely on witnesses. And like he said, the most important piece of evidence, even if it's a partial license plate, is a license plate. Because if they have the make and model of a car, they can go into their database. Even if they have a part of the license plate, then they can find who did this.
All right. Thank you, Steve. You cannot use the airport's cheapest parking lots these days. Perhaps you've noticed. And the airport says the issue is that it still can't find people who are willing to drive us to and from those parking lots. You got the Pikes Peak and Mount Albert shuttle lots still closed. DIA says it's staffing. Both lots, owned and operated by the airport, have been closed since May of last year. DIA told us today it hopes to fill those empty shuttle driver positions and get the lots back open by the end of 2021. In the meantime, the airport is pointing passengers to more expensive options like the garage at $26 per day, economy lot at $17 per day, and there's always the 61st and Pena lot at $6 a day. You know it's cheaper than parking at the shuttle lots. We stumbled on this today, parking for free. But you have to be very important in order to park for free at the airport. We happened to get a hold of the list of people who are allowed to park for free at the airport. I thought you would enjoy hearing it. I liked reading through it. The mayor, makes sense. All the former mayors, nice perk. The governor, Denver City Auditor, Denver City Council, or if you are in Congress. You and me, unless you're watching, Mr. Former Mayor, not on the list. 9 books for each kid. 9 books for each of the hundreds of students in Scholars Unlimited after-school programs. Your Word of Thanks campaign to build the start of a home library for students in low-income communities in the metro area was just a huge success. We are super close to the $45,000 mark, which would be 9 books for each of the hundreds of young scholars in that program. And not just any books, but books with lead characters that reflect those young scholars' families and their neighborhoods, to inspire those students who are going to be able to see themselves in those pages. And I'm also passing along thanks to you from the nonprofit behind Lou Bird's Light Foundation's Inclusive Playground. Hundreds of people were out there yesterday for the grand opening at the Stanley Marketplace in Aurora. This playground is beautiful. You raised more than $70,000 to help that project get across the finish line. If you go out there, look for the sign that thanks you, Next Viewers, for your generosity. It's on a little pink bird. The Inclusive Playground is a place where all kids can play, and you played a key role in creating it. A role model, for sure, not an athlete or a movie star.
Seeing someone like you, either in a hospital or in a clinic or even within a college of nursing, is important.
His prominent success in our community is an invitation to young students of color.
Because you feel that you belong there.
The first day they rang the bells for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, it made news headlines. They didn't stop. Every week, through weather, beautiful and harsh, through reactions from neighbors, beautiful and harsh. That's next. Want to let you know there's a small fire that's burning in Summit County right now, and this is just above Silverthorne. Our man in the mountains, Matt Renew, tells us that the Summit County Sheriff's Office has ordered mandatory evacuations for everybody above Lakeview Circle in Silverthorne. Again, you can see from Matt's shot, it's not a tremendously large fire, but it is in close proximity to Silverthorne and is going to be very visible to anybody who is up there. The fire's burning in a tough-to-reach area, so the Forest Service has called in air support. The head of CU's Nursing College hopes to teach his students a very personal lesson, that they can follow his path to success as a first-generation college student. Our Victoria De Leon has the story.
This picture was when I became the president of the American Association of Nurse Practitioners.
Dr. Elias Provencio Vasquez is no stranger to being the first.
Which I was the first Hispanic male to be the president of this national organization. I'm also a first-generation college graduate. Of course, my family didn't know what it was like to go to college, to study for an exam, so that experience was very unique for me, and sometimes lonely.
Dr. Provencio Vasquez was used to taking on that sometimes lonely road by the time he got to the University of Arizona.
And when I was about to graduate in 1992, they did some homework to find out that I was the first Hispanic in the United States to get a PhD in the discipline or profession of nursing.
Now, as the Dean of the College of Nursing at CU Anschutz, he hopes his own experiences have even bigger impacts.
Seeing people like yourself, even within a hospital system, a clinic, or a university really makes a difference. So I'm hoping that my presence here really invites others to take this journey. And these are students that I mentored over time. I mentor all students, but students of color or underrepresented, I really am committed to make sure that they're successful.
No stranger to being the first, but making sure he's not the last.
Exactly.
For Next, I'm Victoria De Leon.
Dr. Provencio Vasquez told Victoria that they're hoping to land some additional federal grant money soon by being designated a Hispanic Latino Serving Institute. They would need 25% of enrolled students to be Hispanic Latino to qualify, and right now they're 18%.
Felt once again more like summer this afternoon, a high of 89 here in Denver, well above that average and just shy of the record high of 92. We were sitting in the 90s across the eastern plains. Ray, 97 degrees this afternoon, late September. We had 70s and 80s way up high. Good news is some rain on the way, primarily into southern Colorado. As we are watching this system, it will slowly move off to the north and to the east, helping to bring us some scattered showers by tomorrow afternoon. 40s, 50s off to the plains with 30s and 40s way up high. Tomorrow morning, we kick off the day with a few clouds and then a better chance for some scattered showers up in the mountains with a few off to the eastern plains. Temps tomorrow a little cooler than today, back to the low 80s here in the metro area. But look at this cool off. Upper 60s on the way on Wednesday with some nice rain showers taking us into Thursday.
In 2020, Denver saw weekly protests for social justice. And it still does. Same day and time, same place, same purpose.
May we have enough foolishness to believe we can change the world, and that's why we're here.
That persistence is why we'll pay them a visit next. The bells rang in Park Hill today, just like every Monday, for more than a year now. Each time for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. United Methodist Church Park Hill and Temple Micah, they share a single house of worship, and they also share this Monday tradition.
If you want to come over under the shade, Lorraine and Mary, come on over, please. Everybody. I'm Ruth Ann Russell, and I'm a member of Park Hill United Methodist Church. We have a large group today, and that's wonderful. Thank you. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people.
We are ringing for justice.
Every Monday, rain, snow,
sleet,
sun, heat,
wind.
Everything.
So I am Daryl J. Walker, and I am Minister of Music and Worship at Park Hill United Methodist Church.
So we've rang every week on Monday at noon. It's been a year and 3 months. We started it because it was the 5-year anniversary of the murders at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and then decided we'd continue to ring in protest of the death of George Floyd.
So we're ringing for those who can't ring. That's even more inspiring.
May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and more.
But when you see people that don't look anything like us, that are allies, it's what it's all about. It's like, regardless of what color you are, everyone should be treated as part of humanity.
And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe you can make a difference in this world.
Amen.
So that
Amen.
you may do what others claim cannot be done.
Ruth told our photojournalist Mike Grady that most of the reactions they get are friendly, honk or a wave, occasionally a less friendly hand gesture. She says, you know what, either way, they're clearly making an impact. We're going to head back up to Silverthorne and check on that fire that is burning above town, still small at this point. I'll also hear from your feedback next. We're seeing increased activity in the small wildfire that is burning in Summit County, just above Silverthorne. This is near the Angler Mountain subdivision in Silverthorne. You're looking at a live picture through the camera of our Matt Renew up there, who says that there's a mandatory evacuation for anybody above Lakeview Circle in Silverthorne. Clearly, this is going to be very prominent to anybody who is down there in the valley and able to see. Forest Service is trying to get some air support because of the rough terrain that fire is burning in. Keep you updated on that through the 9 News app, 9news.com, and then again on 9 News at 9 and 10 tonight. Of course, you came through and got us past the $45,000 mark for Scholars Unlimited. Your Word of Thanks campaign will now deliver 9 books with representation to every single one of the hundreds of kids in their after-school program. And Patrick Bone, college classmate of mine at Ithaca, writes in about the inclusive playground in Aurora that you all helped open over the weekend. Points out it's not just great for kids with disabilities, but as a parent in a wheelchair, he said, that's the kind of playground I can take my kids to and be an active, engaged parent. Thank you so much. See you next time.